What's up, everyone? This is Clock Management. I'm your host, Justin, and as always, I am joined by Perry.
And Justin, if your heart was a prison, I would like to be sentenced for life.
That's a really good one. I actually feel like that one might have the best chance of success. If you've been listening to the show for a while, that's the one you try.
Or the worst one, because it's going to make them laugh. You don't want to be like in between on these pickup lines. You want to be like a very good pickup line or a really, really bad pickup line.
Yeah, you want it obvious that it's that you're meaning to make a bad pickup line. You don't want it to be where it's like, is he serious? Is he going to murder me at some point?
Right. Yeah, it can't be like, oh, he's trying and doing poorly. And that's the most awkward.
And
you want to appear to be trying and doing really well, or not trying at all. Those are the two options.
And most importantly, don't take advice from us on how to pick up a chick, because we've been out of the game for a long time. So just disregard everything we said.
I met my wife in the dorms of college during a Harry Potter marathon, and I offered her beef jerky. So clearly I'm not smooth, but it worked, so
that was one of those bad pickup lines we were talking about.
Yeah, she's like, he was being so funny, and I was like, no, do you want beef jerky? Like, I have some.
All right,
so fantasy football.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. And every day.
Championship week.
Yeah, it's championship week. We're both in a championship in our two main leagues. We played each other and we split it 50-50. We decided amongst ourselves that you would go to one and I would go to the other. So
I think I would rather have gone to the one that you're going to, but I'm happy with the one I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's a dynasty league, so there's a little bit more long-term effort into that one. So that feels kind of good. There was a point earlier in the season where I was like, maybe I should start kind of liquidating here a little bit and see if I can get some picks. Glad I didn't, because my team looks pretty good going into the championship.
Yeah.
As does yours.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited. And
I had a chance going into Monday. It wasn't a big chance, right? For me, it's it's a long shot, but it wasn't not happening.
Yeah, it wasn't out of the question until I had the first couple minutes of the game.
Oh yeah. As soon as the game started, I knew that wasn't happening. I had Juju, I had the Steelers defense, and who else did I have?
No, and you had Kareem Hunt the night before.
Oh, and I had Kareem Hunt the night before. And Kareem Hunt put up 4, and then I was like, okay, that's not a great start to my comeback.
Yeah, and I had a 30-point lead prior to his 4 points.
Right. And then you had Deontay Johnson, I had Juju and the Steelers defense. And I mean, there was still a possibility at that point.
Yeah.
But it was ugly. It was ugly, man. The Steelers let me down big time.
Yeah.
But
Deontay Johnson with that touchdown hooked it up for me.
Yeah.
To seal it.
Good win, man. I am rooting for you in the championship.
As am I.
All right. Yep. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Did you happen to see the text message that I sent out?
I did. I just read that. It was cute.
Yeah, I sent out a group message to everyone in our league. I'll probably post it on Twitter or something, just because I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, hey, here's our first piece of advice of the episode. Do things like that with your leagues, guys. It's not all about trash talking, kind of make it fun, make it an event, get people involved, make people interested. And the more invested that you get, that becomes infectious, and your league mates will become more invested, and then you'll have a stronger league. So,
and just more fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Last thing, Justin, we talked about our two main leagues. We're in one league together where we co-manage, and we missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that sucked.
And this is with a bunch of people from Twitter that are kind of a part of the fantasy community. Did you know that we have the most points scored in that league?
I did not.
We have the second most points scored.
I was going to say, it doesn't surprise me. I remember we were dominating the points scored at one point.
Oh, yes, by far. We also have the most points scored against us by almost 200.
Yeah, that makes sense for why we didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, it is a kiss curse situation there, guys. Like, fantasy football. She's a fickle beast for sure.
I've never heard that term.
Kiss curse?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Okay. I was like,
it.
oh, and not right now, and I'm also afraid to Google it. Anything with any sort of affection in Google is dangerous.
And then last little piece of whatever here. The person that scored the most points in that league, which was only like 7 more than us, had almost 300 less points scored against them than us.
Dang.
It's crazy, right? Anyways, let's move on.
We are giving away an autographed Devontae Parker jersey.
Are you sure?
Because I'm like 72% sure right now.
It would have been really cool if that was Devontae Parker's number.
I mean, that's his choice.
I know, but like if you had to use that, we would have been definitely sure, but it would have been a fun way to say how sure we were. Yeah. Anyways, let's just start over. Let's start this whole episode over
rewind.
So we can get that joke
just
in.
Cameraman, rewind. I don't know how that works.
I almost did the like rewind like thing, and I'm glad that I didn't
fully invest.
Right. Yeah, that would have been embarrassing. Otherwise, we legitimately would have had to restart this episode.
I would have just played that on a loop for the entire episode.
Oh God. All right.
But to get a chance to win that jersey, subscribe on YouTube and then also leave a comment on any video in the month of December, and that enters you to win. And every video in the month of December you leave a comment on is a chance to win.
And is this the last video in the month of December, Justin? It might be.
It might be, yeah. I would have to check our schedule. It's pretty close. There might be, we might get one more in. We'll see.
Yeah. Point being, just leave a comment.
Yeah.
It's free. It's easy. And you could just walk away with a jersey.
Right?
Like go tell your friends to do it.
Yeah.
Like everybody. Don't even tell them what it's for, right? You don't tell them, oh, you could win a jersey, because you want that jersey, but hey mom, go comment on this video, please. Yeah. Or it doesn't even have to make sense.
Or your friends are all friends at different teams. If there's a player that we're giving a jersey away on a team that one of you likes, you could all comment to get that jersey for your friend.
Jeez, I can see your brain from here, Justin.
Yeah, it's gigantic. I know.
That's a huge brain play.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Getting into some news, Perry. You want to talk us through some?
Yeah. This season needs to end, by the way. Anyways, there's so many injuries and so much COVID. It's crazy. Let's talk about Cam Akers. High ankle sprain. He's out for week 16. I know that Cam Akers has kind of been on a little bit of a, hot streak. Maybe is an overreaching term, but he's not going to play. I know my opinion on this backfield without Cam Akers there. Justin, how do you feel about Daryl Henderson and Malcolm Brown?
So we're in the fantasy championship. I'm not leaving my team or my victory up to choosing one of them to go in this matchup.
Right. I think definitively Malcolm Brown, Daryl Henderson is the guy to own. But I agree with Justin. I am not starting Daryl Henderson in my fantasy championship. I mean, I would literally have to have gotten into the championship out of nowhere. Yeah. But he is the guy to own. So if you're in some weird 16-team league or something crazy like that, where people like Daryl Henderson are really good, go for it. Yeah, I would choose Daryl Henderson.
Maybe your league's playing for last place in this week. that could be an option for you.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts confirmed to start against the Cowboys in week 16. I think we both expected this. Last week I said I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to continue where he started with his first start.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. He looked very good.
He was my quarterback sit. I'm sorry. I'm wiping the egg off my face right now. And yeah, I agree. He's a great start for this week. I mean, we'll talk more about that, but yeah, he killed it.
Yeah. I guess I wanted to ask, and this might be a better question for the offseason. I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot, but Carson Wentz, where does he go?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Carson Wentz is better than how he performed in Philly.
I think he needs to leave. Like, I don't think he has confidence there, and he needs to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we went into the season, both of us, talking about how horrible Carson Wentz is, right? Like for fantasy, being overdrafted. And now I find myself with most people on the other end of this argument, trying to tell them that he's not as bad as what we've seen. Like, and I was the one telling everyone not to draft him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of weird how we've, I don't know if flip-flopped is right, but we kind of flip-flopped on Carson Wentz, but I just don't think
the fantasy,
the right system. Yeah.
I think the NFL community, like people who talk about sports, are so temperamental. And so like, you know, when someone's doing good, they're the best to ever do it. No one will ever be to this level and they're never going to fall from grace. And then when someone does bad, they're horrible and they shouldn't be in the NFL. And, you know, they're just the worst player ever.
It's super polarizing. Yeah, there's very little in between.
Yeah, and usually, I mean, almost always, you know, the true value of these players is in between there because they're not on these extremes most of the time. Sometimes there are players that just shouldn't be in the NFL. I'm talking about you, TJ Yeldon.
Got him. All right. Myles Gaskin has been activated off the reserve COVID list. I expect Myles Gaskin to play this week. Myles Gaskin was a staple in a lot of lineups before he went out with COVID. But Ahmed's looked really good. And I expect them to continue to use him. So I think this is going to be like a 1A, 1B sort of situation between these two guys this week. I would avoid starting them if I could. I think if you're in the championship, you probably didn't get there with one of these guys in your starting lineup, to be completely honest. And I would continue on without them in your starting lineup. That being said, this team has been very effective running the ball. They've been running the ball a ton. So again, deeper leagues, playing for these consolation games or playing for last place. Yeah, I mean, these guys are both going to get work. I would like Gaskin over Ahmed personally, but I expect Ahmed to get some work.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment.
Antonio Gibson was limited in Wednesday's practice. He's missed the last 2 games. J.D. McKissic has done a pretty good job filling in for him. We don't know if he will play this week. It's leaning towards that he will play this week. I would just throw him right back to where you had him before the injury. And then with J.D. McKissic, it's just he's a great running back 3 like flex option in PPR leagues. If you're in a standard league, I would avoid starting J.D. McKissic if Antonio Gibson is in.
I do worry about Gibson maybe being on a limited snap count because he has turf toe. So just due to pain
personally,
management.
With the way this division is playing out, the team in Washington needs to win to make the playoffs. And I think that they're going to. Yeah, they're going to do everything they can to make the playoffs. So.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But I just think that it may be a limiting factor from him.
Sure. Yeah, I guess he was like a low-end RB1 when he left.
Yeah.
He might be more like an RB2, like middle RB2.
Yeah, that's where I currently have him.
But it's a really good matchup against the Panthers.
Yep.
So I do like J.D. McKissic this week. Again, if you're in any sort of PPR, even half-point PPR, I like him a lot. Tyreek Hill missed practice today due to hamstring injury. It's something that he re-aggravated apparently. It's not serious. He should be ready for the championship. So if you have seen a Bleacher Report pop up with Tyreek Hill missing practice, I wouldn't be all that worried. Friday, we'll know Friday for sure. So hopefully you have a good Christmas present with Tyreek Hill. Okay. Sorry, I just got a text about work. And you know those texts where you see the name You're I'm doing something, so I'm trying to pay attention to that, but you see the name and you're like, oh, that's an important name.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, not practicing Wednesday. We all know what happened last week with the Keenan Allen fake out. I'm not willing to start Keenan Allen again this year. So,
what's funny is prior to that game, he ran up to a camera and
oh my goodness,
told everyone to start him.
No, he said, "Don't sit me."
Yeah, don't sit me. Yeah,
don't sit me during warmups, and then he proceeded to stand on the sideline
and sit himself.
I would not start Keane Allen rest of year. I'm sorry. I know he's been fantastic this season, but that is a huge risk.
This kind of like I don't listen to football players for fantasy football advice.
When it's become obvious that it's not up to them.
Yeah. If I want to know how to run a route, I'm going to ask Keenan Allen how to do it. But if I want to know what wide receiver to put in my fantasy lineup, probably not going with Keenan Allen's advice.
Right. Or hey, are you healthy enough to play? You know what? I hope you say you are, but I'm also not going to take that as
I want you to say yes, but also that once you say yes, it puts me at a point of where, okay, well, what does the doctor say?
Yeah. It's actually I was asking the doctor behind you.
But I'm happy that you want to.
Christian McCaffrey, doubtful for week 16, which just officially makes it to where Christian McCaffrey is
the biggest bust of the year.
I'm not going to go that far because he had 3 games and he played really, really well in those 3 games. And I hate using injuries as a metric for busts.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like the last few weeks, though, it hasn't been an injury. It's just been that they have nothing to play for.
Maybe. It's been extremely frustrating. I will definitely grant you that. I would put Michael Thomas really high on that bust list. I would put Zach Hurts.
The first half of his was injury related, and then related to him punching a teammate after that.
Yeah, I would put Zach Ertz pretty high up on that bust list.
Yeah.
We'll talk about in the off season for sure.
We'll have
McCaffrey is definitely a bust. Biggest bust? I don't think so. I think if we're going to include injuries, Saquon would be the guy. But yeah, we'll move on here. But basically, he's out. Mike Davis is in. Roll Mike Davis. Even in the championship, he got you there. So Philip Lindsay misses practice, as does Royce Freeman, which makes Melvin Gordon really the only running back for Denver. I like Melvin Gordon a lot this week, actually. So
I'm going to talk more about Mike Davis actually later, Perry.
Oh boy. Melvin Gordon revenge game against the Chargers. So
yeah. That'll be interesting because he's one of those players where it means something to him too.
Oh, he went there for a reason. He went to Denver for a reason. Zeke, limited in practice today, Wednesday, the 23rd. I'm personally really rooting for Zeke to miss this game.
At this point, I feel like I'm just repeating the same joke over and over, but hasn't he been limited in every game as well?
True. Tony Pollard Tony Pollard did really well fantasy wise. Yeah. He didn't play super amazing last week or anything. He just ended up finding the end zone twice. So, but Tony Pollard, I have him in that dynasty league that I'm in the championship. Just so everybody knows, if Zeke is out, I'm starting Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
So, definitely start.
He's outperformed Zeke.
Oh yeah. He looks better than Zeke, even when Zeke is also on the field. Tony Pollard's looked better all season. Zeke's not right. There's something wrong with Zeke for sure. So,
and I think it's mental. I feel like when Dak got hurt, Zeke just was there's nothing to play for.
I
think he's speculation, but
yeah. Okay, cool. That's it, bud.
All right. So yeah, we get into our start sits. I got some players for some sits. I know we both did starts. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I didn't do sits.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's start with the quarterback position, the leader of the team.
Some may say. Yep.
Yep. So who's your quarterback for your quarterback start, Perry?
Okay, so part of this is because he's a great start, and part of it's because we owe him, and that's Jalen Hurts. Uh, you and I both threw some shade at Jalen Hurts last week, and he came back and threw it right in our face. Finished last week with 37.
I'm positive he did it just in spite of us.
Oh yeah, he's a big listener of the show, good friend. I do not expect another 4-touchdown game out of Jalen Hurts, so just keep that in mind. But he's playing Dallas. Dallas is a super porous defense,
and they're playing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, this is a division matchup here. I don't think Philly's going to make the playoffs. That mathematically they still could. That's how bad this division is. But Dallas is playing for it, and Philly would love
to take from them.
To take it from them. So I expect Jalen Hurts to have a pretty decent day here, even if he has another bad day passing, which he didn't this last week. But even if he has a bad day passing, he's going to get a lot of work done on the ground, which is way more valuable when it comes to fantasy.
Last week, my fear of him was we didn't see a lot from him in the passing game the first week. Like, he didn't look that impressive. And then this week, he looked great throwing the balls. I was very impressed. So,
not
I'm
super accurate, but I mean, rookie season, I'm impressed, man. Carson Wentz is definitely out of there at this point. There's no way they can go back to Carson Wentz at this point. So,
do you want to speculate on where Carson Wentz may end up?
I always want to say Denver. Yeah. But I actually think Denver's a pretty good landing spot for him.
Yeah.
John Elway could be a really good mentor to Carson Wentz. I don't think that Drew Lock is the future of the Denver Broncos personally. I also think the Niners aren't a very bad spot for him to land. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is pretty serviceable for you guys, but he's really injury prone. So I don't know. They have a huge contract to eat with Jimmy Garoppolo. So,
well, I think that this is the last year of guaranteed money for Jimmy Garoppolo, actually.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So
that's good.
I think that actually would be a possibility. Also, I was thinking maybe the Washington football team as well, because I don't think Haskins is the future there, nor we're towards the end of Alex Smith.
So. Yeah, I was thinking if Dak doesn't go back to Dallas, Carson Wentz might like that, division rival. So is Washington, of course. But, if Dak goes somewhere else, the Carson Wentz moves in. So
he could go take Nick Foles' job again.
Dude, I swear Carson Wentz will step foot in that building and Nick Foles will throw so many touchdowns. So
I don't think they would bring in a third quarterback that they're going to pay a starting quarterback salary at this point.
Right.
But I mean, the Bears have been known to prove me wrong. So,
okay. So Dallas this coming week, really great for Jalen Hurts. Please start Jalen Hurts. I will say, if you are playing in week 17, I mean, there are other problems to talk about. You shouldn't be doing that. But he has Washington in week 17, which is a pretty tough matchup, it appears. So don't expect to have him for 2 weeks. I wouldn't start him against Washington, but I will definitely start him against Dallas.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So my quarterback is Baker Mayfield. I haven't been the biggest Baker Mayfield fan just throughout the season, but the last 3 weeks, he's actually been the quarterback 3 over the last 3 weeks.
Baker's playing the best football of his life right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then this week he's playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's an incredible matchup. I would go ahead and roll him out there. I think he will probably be a top. I have him as my QB6, I believe, this week. So that's pretty high ranking for him.
And I think QB6 is like right in the middle of his possibility. His ceiling is pretty high this week, man.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the rushing numbers, so I'm not going to quite put him like at a ceiling of QB1 overall, but he's got like a top 3 ceiling.
Yeah, for sure. And that's he's a guy that's on waivers in some leagues. So, yeah, go ahead and I would grab. I like Baker a little bit more than I do Hurts, just because Hurts being a rookie and all, we have a very limited sample size out of him. And I feel a little bit more confident in Baker, but not much. I like Hurts.
Yeah.
Because he has that rushing floor as well.
I don't know. I think against Dallas, I'll go Hurts over Baker, but I like Baker too. It's really close. It's really, really close.
I think,
and they're both pretty available.
Yeah, I want to say I had Hurts at 8 and I have Baker at 6. So it's very close. All right, so running back. Who's your running back start, Perry?
Yeah, kind of an obvious one, but I think it needs to be said. Again, I've thrown a lot of shade at this backfield this season, but it's J.K. Dobbins out of Baltimore. J.K. Dobbins has looked very good the last few weeks. He hasn't had huge explosive games, keeping in mind that he's been splitting the backfield with Gus Edwards quite a bit. They've got the Giants this week. The Giants are, I don't know, people are trying to say that they have a pretty good defense. I don't personally see it. I don't know. I'm not on board.
They have some good pieces to their defense. It's just not, they still have some work to do. They're like, their cornerback's pretty good, and like they've been getting better at the pass rush, but yeah, it's not a complete defense.
Right. I just think that this Baltimore offense is going to overwhelm them completely, and they're going to run the ball a ton in the second half. And I think, J.K. Dobbins, who's been very efficient, very effective runner, puts up another, like 14 to 15 touches for 75 to 100 yards, and he definitely finds the end zone. Again, I don't expect him to blow up. He hasn't done it at all this season, but he's been very consistent with these like 17 to like 13-point games. And with the health of the running back position in the NFL this season, getting 17 to 13 points consistently out of a running back is huge. So I rode James Robinson all season with him doing that. So
yeah, and I definitely agree with you on that. I got distracted reading what about my guy. So the player I want to talk about is David Montgomery.
Do you? You don't sound all that confident.
Yeah, well, he started off pretty bad this year. That's why. But this is what gives me confidence in him. So that
very, very briefly bad. I mean,
yeah. Well, not to where I expected him. I had him higher ranking than a lot of people. But since Matt Nagy gave up play calling 4 weeks ago, he's rushed for 434 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns, over 100 yards in 3 out of 4 games. He's just been incredible since Matt Nagy stopped calling the plays. Matt Nagy
meanwhile had 1 touchdown and no 100-yard rushing games.
Yeah.
While Matt Nagy was calling the plays.
Yeah, I don't think he had a single over 90. So I mean, he's got a great matchup. So I'm and with that going on as well. So there's little, like, you can't expect anything but success for him going forward. So he should be a RB1, a high end RB1.
Yeah, against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
David Montgomery's an auto start. Now, where does David Montgomery get drafted in 2021, Justin?
I think he will get drafted probably the front end of the second round.
Is that where you would take him?
I would take him at the back end of the first, probably.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's a weird thought. David Montgomery, with what he's playing right now, he's like a top 5 pick.
And earlier I said Baker was playing Jacksonville. That's my bad. He's playing the Jets, also a horrible defense.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Those two teams are literally
they're the same team
for the first overall pick. Anyways, let's move on to wide receivers.
Yes.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm definitely down with that.
You want to do that?
Your wide receiver and my wide receiver. I mean, you have another one because we talked, but we both agreed on this one. is Jarvis Landry going against the Jets as Baker Mayfield's number one wide receiver. He's been on a hot streak. So he's had 19 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. Yep. And I mean, this part of Baker Mayfield doing very well in this time frame as well. Obviously, the number one target for him is going to see that. Success
really quickly, I want to point out that for me, Jarvis Landry is only a start of the week if you're in a PPR league.
Okay, yeah, that makes. Even half point PPR.
Start, but I mean, I don't want to tout him too much in a standard league because the yardage totals just aren't there. But.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And even half point, he's fine. As a great start. But yeah, in a
when I say
league.
PPR, I mean any form of PPR.
Yeah. But also they're going against the Jets, and the Jets are particularly bad against slot wide receivers. Yeah. But especially, even more so than how atrocious they are in general, is against slot wide receivers, which is where Landry has been lining up. And they've been allowing an average of 6 catches to the slot wide receiver every game, which is the 6th worst for a defense. With Landry being there, that should be just a gold mine for Baker to go to time and time again. Like you said, in PPR especially.
Do the Browns keep Odell Beckham?
Man, I'm going to have to look at his contract situation. I think he wants to leave. I think they want him to leave. I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to a money situation. Can they get rid of him? Yeah.
Baker Mayfield is so much better without Odell Beckham on the field.
Yeah.
So much better.
He should go to the Giants. They need a wide receiver.
Yeah. Okay. My start of the week at wide receiver is Mr. Robert Woods.
Nice.
When you're that good, you got to call him Mr.
Or Bobby Trees.
Bobby Trees. Yep. Robert Woods. I think he's had a really down season compared to where I had him ranked. But I just think it's because the Rams are just running the ball like crazy. But it does appear that Robert Woods is the most trustworthy receiver on this team, even over Cooper Kupp. I would start Robert Woods over Cooper Kupp. And I think you and I both had Robert Woods ranked higher than Cooper Kupp going into the season.
Yeah.
He's got Seattle. That's kind of the big point here. Seattle's giving up a ton of points to wide receivers. They've been better as of late, but I also think that they face some not so I don't know, some wide receivers that aren't quite as good as Robert Woods. I honestly just think that Robert Woods is going to have a pretty decent day against Seattle. I think he finds the end zone for sure. When they get down towards the goal line, Goff just looks for Woods almost every time. He gets so many goal end zone targets. So 6 touchdowns on the season. I think he finds another one this week against Seattle.
Yeah, I like it. Like you said, we both were very high on Robert Woods, and I still believe in his talent. So,
yeah, yep.
All right, you want to talk tight ends?
Man, mine's gonna be really quick and easy. So I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just gonna keep going with what's working.
Just keep beating that drum.
Yeah, Robert Tonyan is the drum that I've been beating the last 2 weeks. I'm again talking about Robert Tonyan this week. I don't understand why he's not getting as much love as some of these other guys.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up Perry because, we could talk about how great he's doing and stuff like that, but like I said, we've been beating that drum, right? Like we've been talking about that. If you listen to the show, you already know this. So what I do want to talk about is how is he not in the Pro Bowl? How is Evan Ingram in the Pro Bowl, but he isn't?
People just love Evan Ingram.
I don't know. I know Giants fans that do not like Evan Ingram.
Well, so Evan Ingram has this like insane, like
He has a
athletic
good PR person.
talent, but he has 500 yards on the season and 1 touchdown. Robert Tonyan
I think has 10 touchdowns.
has 500 yards on the season and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like,
I was looking at their stats. Their stats are somewhat similar.
no,
Tonyan catches
here's
the ball a lot more and
Yes.
has less targets.
Yes.
And then their yardage is similar. And then they both have a 1 in their touchdown column. Just Tonyan has a 0 after his.
Yeah, like Evan Ingram has caught 54 of his 95 targets.
Yeah.
Whereas Robert Tonyan has caught 49 of his 55 targets. 6 targets have not been caught.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. We're starting week 16 now, and he's only not caught 6 targets. Like, I get that people love these big numbers. By the way, he has a 10 touchdown total, which is a huge number. But the efficiency is insane here. Robert Tonyan is really, really good.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers knows he's really, really good. And
he's playing like I expected Mike Gesicki to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I know he's not going to be like 1,000-yard receiver or anything like Travis Kelce, right?
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Travis Kelce gets all this love. But man, 5 straight games with a touchdown.
Yeah, can we give Tonyan some respect? Like,
yes, yeah, I am on board with the respect of Robert Tonyan. But yeah, my start of the week again.
All right. Now I'm gonna continue to beat a drum as well, Perry. And that's so I'm going with my start as Austin Hooper, and that drum I'm beating is the Jets, and I'm just going to continue to beat them, just as every other team in the NFL has. So he's going against the Jets. So I mean that's a great team to play your tight end and your slot wide receivers against. They are horrible at guarding interior pass catchers. So on the season, he scored 15.1 points last week against the Giants, and now he's going up against the worst, or the worst New York team, the Jets. Like you have to roll him out there against them. Their defense has allowed the most fantasy points to tight ends. And 3 of those players scored over 24 points. Like, they've had 3 tight ends score over 24 points on them. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, they cannot guard slot wide receivers and the tight end position. I mean, they also can't guard the exterior wide receivers, but they just do that slightly better. So, go ahead and roll Austin Hooper out this week.
Hooper. You know Travis Kelce is only 6 yards behind DeAndre Hopkins for the league lead in receiving yards?
I did not. That's impressive.
Travis Kelce is insane. Insane. 10 touchdowns also, by the way.
Also.
So I was very excited about Robert Tonyan. Travis Kelce has 800 more yards and 10 touchdowns. Crazy.
Good job, Tonyan.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a defense for us, Perry?
Of course, Justin. What is this, amateur hour? Yeah, we're totally amateurs. Cleveland Browns.
Nice.
Right? Is this obvious?
Yeah. Right. Guess. Way to jump on my drum, Perry.
You're hating on the Jets. The Jets are terrible is the title of this show. So play your Cleveland Brown players, except don't play Kareem Hunt. Don't start Kareem.
Is that bitterness I hear, Perry?
You know what? I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. You have a defense of the week?
No, so yeah, I got a defense of the week. So they might be owned. They probably are owned.
The Jets are going to get owned for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, this defense. I'm going with the Ravens defense against the Giants. Like
they're owned.
Yeah, they're almost certainly owned in your league, but if they're not, or if you have them, just expect good things this week. Going against the Giants, they love to turn the ball over. Like that you can't. What can you say? They have a great defense going against a horrible offense. It's a match made in heaven.
match made in heaven.
It's going to be a bad week in New York.
It usually is. So it's going to be an average week in New York. Buckle up.
Yeah, I mean, at least Buffalo's still there. So
true, but they're on the other side of the state.
Yeah,
that side seems to be doing pretty well right now.
All right, I got some sits of the week for us, Perry. I told you we were coming back to
sit them down, bud.
Yeah, I told you we're coming back to Mike Davis. So he's actually one of my sits. So Mike Davis managed 61 yards from scrimmage last week in the loss to the Packers. The Packers are not good against the run. This was just a horrible week for him. And you remember before CMC came back last time,
I forgot.
We were talking about how Mike Davis was not doing that good. Teams seemed to have figured him out, and he had kind of teetered off towards the end of that. Well, it's happening again, and now he's going against the Washington football team, which allows the fewest fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. So I'm not starting him if I can. I'm going to try and avoid that. It's they have a solid defense.
Sounds good with me. This is your segment, buddy.
All right, wide receiver, DK Metcalf. So DK, I'm huge on DK. I'm one of the biggest, going into the season, I had DK ranked higher than probably any other expert that I take seriously.
Whoa, expert.
Yeah. I mean, toot my own horn a little bit here.
Wow. Expert over here, guys.
Right? Yeah, I'm doing the Fantasy Pros expert ranking, so they labeled me that, Perry, not me.
Okay. Excuse me. Let me get out of your way here.
But yeah, so DK, the reason why I'm off on him this week, though, is because he's going against the Rams defense, and we've seen this already, right? Like, they play the Rams twice a year, and so I expect a similar game plan because it worked pretty well last time. They were able to hold DK to, where'd it go? 28 yards on 4 targets last time. So I expect them to implement a similar game plan. I believe it was Ramsey who shadowed him, but just completely shut him down. So I'm going to try to avoid starting DK this week if I can. And then lastly, my tight end. I'm sorry, Perry. It's Jonnu.
Oh, I know, man. What a fall, man.
Yeah.
Jonnu looked so good to start this season.
Yep. And he has not topped 61 yards since week 3.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I dropped Jonnu long ago.
Yeah. And since week 3, he's not scored in 3 of the past 4 games. Or in the last 4 games, he hasn't scored in 3 out of 4. So that's not great. Jonnu's on a good offense, but with against the Packers defense that has the 4th fewest fantasy points allowed to tight ends, it's just not a good matchup for him. And then they have so many wide receiver options and running back options that they're going to lean on because, like I said, the Packers are not good against the run. So expect big things from Derrick Henry, obviously. And it just sucks for Jonnu because, like you said, we loved him at the beginning of the season, but it's sad now.
Right.
Oh, and then lastly, Perry, I forgot my kicker. Kicker of the week is...
I've already been a good episode. Good luck in your fantasy championships.
It's Myers, the Seattle Seahawks kicker.
Nice. I know a lot of thought went into that.
Yeah, I did. I looked up a list of kickers once again, and I selected one at random. And that's why he's my start. The last 2 have actually been impressively good.
Impressively good.
Yeah, with 0 research put into it. I'm thinking about just doing this with all of my players from now on. Just looking up a list and randomly selecting them with absolutely no reasoning. Luckily, this is the last week, so you guys don't have to worry about that.
All right. Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Yeah, Fantasy championship week. Get out there. Hey, you got this.
And if you guys win your fantasy championship, hit me up on Twitter. Send me a screenshot of it. I want to see that championship win, what your team looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could hashtag clock management and that for sure.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You managed a championship.
Ooh,
there's
nice.
Something there. There's something
there. All right, and we'll see you guys next week. And man, we'll have something new to talk about, Perry, besides just current events.
Yeah, I want to talk about future events.
Yes, so much fun.
All right, bye. I love you.